Oh boy, do we have a good one for you today because the Wicked Witch of the West has finally resurfaced. And she thinks she actually has a gotcha. But in reality, she's just a has been, washed up, and no one really wants her. At least the UK. Anyway, she can stay as far away from the UK. We have enough troubles as it is. But Lina Khan has decided that she's going to rear her ugly head again and come out with a tweet saying Microsoft's acquisition of Activision has been followed by significant price hikes and layoffs, harming both gamers and developers. Of course, she doesn't care about all the layoffs that's been happening around the industry. None of that matters because none of that furthers her agenda. She doesn't care about the price hikes from Sony because the FTC was all about protecting Sony. Do you remember how Jacqueline Corley turned around to the FTC and said, I've sat here for the past hour and I've heard you talk about my PlayStation, or was it my Sony? Yeah, my PlayStation, they said, and you haven't spoken about the consumer once. So clearly, they were colluding with PlayStation at the time to try and get the thing. She is tainted and she is crooked and she is corrupt as fuck, right? This is the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission of America that we're talking about, and they were corrupted uh, literally down to the core. When you have the FTC trying to protect a corporation instead of the consumers, there is something fundamentally wrong there. And when they renamed the PlayStation 67 times and the consumers not once, it was only after the judge prompted them as to why this was the case that they turned around and said, "Oh well, when we say PlayStation, we mean consumers." And it's like, no, 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 no. That's not what you meant. You were clearly trying to protect PlayStation. But she's decided to come out and say that Microsoft is the only one that's done price hikes when we've seen PlayStation Plus go up twice already in the space of 18 months. Layoffs, Sony's closed numerous studios. Other places have closed numerous studios. They just keep on closing. It's the way of the industry, harming both gamers and developers. So, all those other stuff that happened around the industry, not a problem. And the one that happens when you merge a company, and guess what happens when you merge a company? And this is the part that's going to shock you guys, right? People lose their jobs. Do you know why? Because when you got one HR manager and a company that's being merged into it, that's the weaker of the two, that has a HR manager, they don't need two HR managers. So this one goes bye bye because it's from the weaker one, it's from the one that's getting consumed. Whereas this one stays. That's how business works. But PlayStation fans clearly, them ponies clearly have no business acumen at all, like zero. I mean, there's one of them that like to regurgitate facts, but at this point, I'm 100% convinced that he's just reading off a script and doesn't know anything, absolutely nothing. Like, I'm pretty convinced in that one. So I'm not even going to count him. But the rest of them are just kind of, hey, Twitter said this, so I'm going to believe what the tweet said, rather than having any sense of, you know, brain power to. I mean, one of them today found out what a special edition actually means. Right? One person today actually found out, and I am so proud of him. I am so proud of him, like deeply proud of him. He found out that you actually pay more for something that is a special edition. Up until this point, he didn't actually grasp that concept. I mean, I am truly proud of him. Like his intellect is growing, and that's a great thing, guys. It shouldn't be mocked. The fact that his intellect is growing, I am so proud of him, like on so many levels. But she continues, as we've seen across sectors, increasing market consolidation and increasing prices often go hand in hand. But other studios have been consolidating for ages. Sony bought studios, other companies are buying studios, Embracer bought studios. No one ever stepped in to stop them. So where's the problem? Is it only when Microsoft does it? Because Microsoft's big corpo. I do wonder if Xbox wasn't tied to Microsoft, would obviously Microsoft wouldn't have then gone for Activision because it's a big deal. But assuming that they did, would it have been a bigger problem? Or if Sony entered the ring to buy Activision, would the FTC have actually done anything about it? I think they would have let it through. I don't think they would have said anything. As dominant firms become too big to care, they can make things worse for their consumers without having to worry about the consequences. Now, that line there is correct, right? Because when big corpos get too big, they can influence a lot. And so keeping them in check is what the FTC and the CMA should be doing. Instead, what these organizations have been doing is going after the big fish to get a name for themselves. They're not actually doing it. I mean, look at it this way. Gas prices in America, which we call petrol here in the UK, have been going up. And when they go up the same level everywhere. That's the same. You go into supermarkets to buy food, they're generally same price everywhere. And this is done deliberately. So the choice of where you go to shop is removed from you. Now, companies like Lidl and Aldi have come along to try and break that monopoly up. But ultimately, those people that don't want to shop from those that bring in European products in the UK, or I don't know if they exist in the US, they go to their tried and tested supermarkets, and then they stabilize in their power. And for years, you know, these companies, these commissions have been teetering around saying, "Hey, buddy, why are all these prices always similar? There's never like any competition." And they don't do anything about it because it's not going to get them a name. It's not going to be something that they can put on their portfolio. But going after someone like Nvidia, Microsoft, Apple, that's a career defining journey. Just like Jacqueline Corley was never going to be overturned for the preliminary injunction. That was a career defining case. And she got it. But you can see here, Lee Harper says, in March 2023, Microsoft told the court Game Pass prices will not increase as a result of the Activision merger. Can they prove that the price increases that we've had right now are because of the merger? Can they actually prove that? And if they can't, I'd really like to know if there's any libel here, because they can't actually prove that, right? On July 10, 2003, a federal judge whose son works at Microsoft rejected the FTC's challenge to the merger. So they're making all these accusations, but they can't prove it. And that's the key point here. So Jay Barry immediately comes out because he's gonna come out, right? He has to. He has to. And there's a lot of them, right? The Xbox toxic fanboys owe the PlayStation Nation an apology. What apology do we owe you exactly? Was Microsoft free to do what they wanted to do with anything from ABK? I mean, in total essence, Microsoft needed ABK to live, right? Let's make no mistake about that. I'm not going to sugarcoat that. I'm not going to try and, do anything with it. Without the ABK acquisition, Xbox as a gaming studio would have been in really big trouble. Buying Activision Blizzard brought them back into the green, and they're doing financially amazing right now. So that's a fact. No one can dispute that. But could they actually turn around and say, I want to put Diablo onto Game Pass? No, they can't do that. The CMA made sure they can't do that. Could they put any of the Activision Blizzard games? No, they can't do that because Ubisoft controlled that. So Microsoft, after spending $70-80 billion, lost control of the cloud team and had to give it to someone else and then pay them money so they can try and buy back some of it, which they refuse to do. Right? That's crazy. And then they turned around and said, unlike Sony, who has been providing us with free skins, free game modes, maps, everything for the past number of years, Microsoft, if you buy Activision and have Call of Duty, you can't have no free skins for your consumers. You can't have no maps, no game modes, no nothing. Nothing to differentiate someone wanting to buy that game on an Xbox. So basically, they removed every ounce of control that Microsoft had. In fact, with Black Ops 6, Microsoft couldn't even advertise Call of Duty Black Ops 6 on Xbox, on their official channel with Game Pass because they weren't allowed to gain any advantage. Yes, that's true, right? One of the concessions by the FTC was that they cannot use COD in any way, be it day one on Game Pass or whatever, on their official channel, to promote the game, and they did it through Activision's channel. So no, Jay Barry, I know you have no, literal thought for yourself, and you can't think for yourself, and the stables have to come together in order for you to be able to have some semblance of understanding. But no, they don't owe you guys jack shit. What you need to understand is that the FTC won this case, right? I know that sounds weird, and I've said this multiple times. The FTC won this case by doing what they did, and now we are seeing the ramifications of the FTC winning the case, right? Yes, Microsoft won the case, but overall, when you look at the grand scheme of things of what Microsoft had to give up, they gave up like everything in order for this deal to go through because Microsoft were desperate. The Xbox division needed the win. And so they gave up practically everything, exclusivity rights, you name it, right? They've even got a third party committee checking the games to make sure that one version isn't better than the other. In fact, the game can run better on PlayStation, on a Switch, but the Xbox version can't run better than PlayStation. Okay, the Switch was maybe going too far, but that is an actual fact. Did you know that? That the game can actually run better on PlayStation, but if the Xbox version runs better than the PlayStation version, at least at the time of the concessions, I don't know the full details on how long that was to be in play, the FTC could step in and dissolve the contract. This is how far the FTC completely and obtusely handicapped Microsoft. But none of these clowns actually know anything. They sit there on the their gaming chairs, sitting there thinking they actually know something, and realistically, they didn't even follow the case. They're just looking at what Twitter said. They have no idea what the ongoings were, what was revealed during the court case. They just sit there, oh, the Xbox toxic fanboys own the PlayStation. Mate, the only thing they owe you is a pile of shit. And honestly, I'm pretty sure you would lap that shit up as well. But anyway, moving on. Destin says, guides, if Lina Khan had blocked Activision, there would have been no industry layoffs or price hikes because the only thing that Lina Khan cares about is that Microsoft is the only one doing these price hikes. Now, for those of you that have made it this far, I am going to have my end thoughts and cover that. But if you are enjoying this content, do consider hitting that like button, subscribe, hit that bell to step today for all content I release. Leave a hype if you can, if you're on the mobile phone. Right, back to the actual show. He says, wish we knew before Sony, EA, Embracer, Nintendo, NetEase, Unity, Epic, Take-Two, Riot, Ubisoft, and of course Microsoft had layoffs and or price hikes. She almost saved gaming. Lina Khan is one of the dumbest people I've ever seen. And there's a lot because you just have to look at Camp Blue and there is a ton of them over there. But she still manages to be dumber than them. And that should tell you a whole lot of something. The fact that they don't even know what special edition console actually means is weird, right? That should even be alarm rail binging. But, we're not going to get into that. He continues to say, I'm not happy about Game Pass price increase either. No one's happy about the Game Pass price increase. Come on, no one is happy about it. Why would anyone be happy about spending more money for the service that they were getting? But let's live in reality, shall we? Everyone raised prices. Check. Everyone did. Everyone had layoffs. Everyone had tons of layoffs. And now I'm seeing people, well, Microsoft laid off more. Well, maybe because they employ a hell of a lot more. Maybe because their overall staff count is 5 times the amount of someone like, Sony or something. Just look at Amazon and how big they are and how big their turnovers were. I'm just saying, every subscription went up. It did. Everything went up. Tariffs hit the entire industry. But according to these fanboys, the tariffs only hit Xbox. Oh, sorry. I should say they only hit other companies like PlayStation, Nintendo, and whatnot. They didn't hit Xbox. Xbox just increased the price for their own good. Now, I am going to say that some of the price increase is probably greed. No disputing about that. There is one aspect of it that is probably true. They've decided that they're going to just rip the band-aid off entirely. I mean, they've got a ad-free cloud service coming in soon that lets you play set number of hours per week, just like GeForce Now, which has ads, but it's completely and utterly free. But GeForce Now is fine, right, guys? That's not a problem. Everyone's happy to use that free service. Xbox doing it. What the hell is going on, man? Can this company not take another L? Well, this is a revolutionary thing for you guys, right? This is going to be crazy. If you don't want ads, pay for the fucking service. I don't like these Xbox increases, but the FTC still has a weak case, and this just sounds like sour grapes after losing multiple times. That's exactly what it is. Lina Khan is just bitter as hell, and I love to see it. Ono's Alex says the entire industry faced layoffs and price increases without a merger. So, Lena, what was your excuse for those? What's that? Tumbleweed? Yeah, I thought so. Gaz here saying, I've seen the morons barking on this say she was right, as if Microsoft is the reason why Sony and Nintendo and everyone else in the industry has seen price hikes. I mean, I guess Sony has done multiple mergers and buyouts, and that's why the PlayStation console prices went up. The PSN prices have continued to go up. I'm guessing that's the reason, right? And let's be real, a price increase for PS Plus is just around the corner as well. It's not gonna stay the same, and they're gonna cite market conditions again. I don't believe any of that, not from Microsoft or Sony, but that's going to be the one. And I wonder what's gonna happen then. This is me. Nintendo and Sony price increase. Lina Khan. This is amazing. Let's go. Xbox increases price. You satanic freak. This woman is a complete joke, and I stand by that. She is an absolute moron. And I continue to say, you are the reason with your sanctions this has played out the way it has. You thought trying to handicap Microsoft was going to end well. What a delusional idiot. No wonder you don't work for the FTC anymore. I appreciate that new administration came in, so she was booted out. But I would hope that common sense would prevail and that she would have been booted out anyway. And so here's the one that I was talking about, the ad service, right? Microsoft is getting ready to announce free cloud gaming with ads, currently in internal testing for 1 hour sessions with up to 5 hours free a month. This is completely free, by the way. You can play the games completely for free. Ad-supported version will include streaming games you own, eligible free play day titles, Xbox Retro Classics. Pre-roll ads are around 2 minutes before a game. Now let's see Xbox right now. Like, it's free. My guy, if you don't want ads, you pay for it. This won't end well. I mean, literally right here, people getting mad over this in comments, but here, GeForce Now with ads as well, and it's been doing perfectly fine, and people appreciate it. Over at my Gacha channel, people use GeForce Now to game all the time to get their dailies done and shit like that. Just small bursts of gaming for the free tier, right? It's crazy how so many in here. Hasn't GeForce Now had an ad-supported free tier for ages? Why are people losing their minds? Because they are morons who basically see anything that Xbox do as being bad. Xbox could let rip, and it's bad. And like I said, the number of idiots posting in this comment section is wild. Truly wild. Microsoft offering an ad tier where it's free to use, boys. It is free to use. And here's the thing. If you don't want ads, pay for the bloody thing. Pay for the service so you don't get ads. Ad-free starts from $6.99. I mean, what do these people want? Freebies for the rest of their life. Good Lord. But folks, here's the thing. Lina Khan has handicapped Microsoft. She handicapped them in emphatic fashion. And she took away so many possibilities of what they could have done. In the end, Activision's crown jewel is Call of Duty. And by basically saying to Microsoft, if this deal goes through, you can't use Call of Duty in any meaningful way to attract customers as a business, which is their primary objective. They pretty much lost any leverage they had, right? In fact, I would say that the path that Microsoft has gone down in right now, with the way that this is an Xbox and everything, this is partly because of what Lina Khan did. Lina Khan and her administration. She's trying to sit there on the high horse, but she is the one that caused all of this. 100% of it, right? It was her concessions and her actions that decided how this was going to play out. And she's the one that forced all this. And now that she doesn't like it, she's getting in a bit of a titsy and getting up in all her knickers and stuff. Well, I'm sorry, Lina. You're the one that made your bed. You can lay in it. Clearly, your way of thinking and business acumen wasn't all it was made up to be. You created now a situation that was far worse for people than it would have been in the first place. But yes, Lina Khan, you would rather have Bobby Kotick, who was allegedly sexually harassing people, right? You would rather have a guy like that who was allegedly threatening to murder people. I'm using the word allegedly, so I don't want no legal, thing coming my way. But you all know the drill. You all heard how this one woman working at Activision, who was advanced allegedly by a accountant at Activision when they were out on a trip for a conference, threw herself off the balcony. But this is the type of people Lina Khan wanted to continue running Activision. The sad, horrible, horrible woman. This is the type of people that she still wanted running that institution. So yes, people lost their jobs. That's what happens when you have a merger. It's inevitable. It's business 101. But don't sit there and act like the whole industry hasn't gone through this. You sad, pathetic excuse for a woman. Anyway, that's the video, folks. I'm done with this, and I'm off to play some games. Peace! Let me know in the comment section below what you think. I'd love to hear your thoughts. But yeah, this over here is a nothing. She's just trying to... she's butthurt that she didn't actually get to block it. And the fact that she actually put the concessions in that made Microsoft go down the route, which ultimately has ended up being bad in her eyes because her name is on it. Now she's trying to distance herself from the whole thing. But in reality, I'm sorry, Lina, this was your doing. 110%. Not even going to shy from that. This was your doing. Anyway, folks, peace out and remain legend.